Oh my god.
Alright, so I've looked through your questions. I have them printed out here, and I'm going to answer them to the best of my abilities. Would you recommend a 240 to someone who knows a decent part about cars in theory, but has never worked on them in a shop or the likes? Yeah, I would. 240s are pretty simple cars to work on, and they are pretty cheap to get secondhand parts for. So on that aspect, I would say like it's a good learner car to learn things on. The first car that I pretty much started working on and building was the gray car, which is the Drift Car 1. So as you could tell, I learned a ton from that car, and it was fairly simple to work on. All that stuff I was doing on that car was basically the first time I've done that sort of stuff. So yes, I do recommend a 240 for that. What's the future of LDC2? So I'll talk like all the way through like how I want to see like the car end up. Well, right now it's going to be painted, so I have the paint booth set up because it'll be painted this week, hopefully. Besides that, engine swapping, so I want to do a 1JZ VVTi, that's the end goal. I'm going to redo the tube front as well as the bash bar up front, all in aluminum to shave a whole bunch of weight off the car. Then I want to tube the rear, put a fuel cell, put a rear mount radiator in there, just kind of compensate for the weight of a JZ up front. Do all that, and then same thing, all like aluminum in the rear except for probably the bracing around the fuel cell. And then all new aeros, so like front bumper, side skirts, rear bumper, fenders in the front. I need way wider fenders because I have 40 mils right now, and that's just like not even cutting it. And the rears, I'll probably just get something else and just bow them out to fit whatever wheels, and then just get new wheels. And that's pretty much it. And then in the interior, just kind of clean it up, redo the cracks in the dash, just get like the gauges in there and cluster. And yeah. How much would the cost be to build something up like the Drift Car 2? So as it stands, the NAKA, I'll just like do like a quick sum up on the screen over here so you guys can see like kind of how it adds up. Any other drift project you want to do? There's like, I want to drift like everything, so just say everything to that one. Are you going to pursue a regular job, or will you continue with YouTube and your brand as a means for income? So I'll just address like my entire future, because a lot of people were asking me about like, oh, what do you want to do for your career and stuff like that. So what I really want to end up doing is kind of branching away from YouTube, because I hate editing and I hate making videos, so I would not want to make something my job that I hate doing, right? Which is why I started making parts, because my end goal was to make parts for cars, right? So right now I have like solid subframe riser bushings. If you check that on the website, I have all the shift knobs available, and there's just like a, and so that stuff I design on my own, and then I have to prototype and then test, and then after that I get it manufactured. And I enjoy doing that, which is why I want to make that my job, and then I would just eventually become, hopefully, like another brand that you would see out there. And don't really have anything to do with YouTube, okay? And I'll address more reasons why I don't want to do YouTube right now. And it's like, you can't necessarily count on an income to come back for you. So let's say for the doing my door panels. My door panels, I spent $150 on material. I think that video right now is like 30,000 views, which let's say, I haven't even checked the income on that, but I'm going to say it's maybe going to be around 50 bucks or something that I've made from that video. So it's like I'm still down $100 on making a video on door panels. So when I continue doing videos like that, I don't see that really paying off. And on top of that, even if it did pay off $150 for the materials that I spent, it's still not paying off in the amount of time that I spent editing the video on the computer, right? And doing all that sort of stuff, and then spending the time to actually go and record the video itself. So I'm not even getting paid for my labor at that point. And a lot of people don't realize because they've been new to YouTube, but like Motion Auto TV, ProAm Mods, me, like there was a point, I think, a few years ago where we all kind of started messaging each other because YouTube, like randomly, I don't know what they did, they just changed something in their policy or something, and all of us like immediately started messaging each other because all of us just started making like half as much money as what we were making off YouTube. And that was just like that with YouTube. So it's just kind of scary to try investing into something that, YouTube could do whatever they want to do, and then, like next month, all of a sudden you're making half as what you want to make. So I really want to branch out into doing just kind of my own thing, and I just have YouTube there as, kind of like a fun thing and just to advertise the products that I be making. Alright, will you ever build your dream S2000? Hopefully one day I will build my dream S2000. I still want to build an S2000. How do you acquire swag? I'll show you how you acquire swag. And yeah. Do you plan on doing ProAm since you built a roll cage to match the regulations? Basically, I was going to do ProAm, but I wasn't really sure about it. I built the car to the highest spec of drifting, which is Formula Drift, so that way any other event that I wanted to enter in, I could do. So there'd be no limitation on, the car not meeting specification. So for instance, there's just even normal events that require, a 6-point cage and door bars. My car has 6-point cage and door bars now. There's some ProAm series that are Formula Drift feeder series, and so your car basically has to be kind of like mini, like FD kind of tech. And so again, the car wouldn't have trouble passing that. And so yeah, the reason that I built the car all around FD spec was that, so if I decided to do anything with the car, I wouldn't have to rebuild it, and it would just be good to go. Are you ever going to paint your 240 like you said you would? There's a half painted fender here and a paint booth set up. So yes, this week is getting painted. What do you do for a living besides YouTube? So YouTube is like some of it. The majority of my income comes from all of the part sales that I have on the website. So offbeatgarage.com. You guys check that out. And I plan to get another job soon, so that way I can invest more into the business. What was the turning point when you were learning to drift, like an aha moment? That moment was in episode 3, and that was basically because episodes 1 and 2, I wasn't really getting the car sliding. Learning to drift episode 3, I was actually holding consistent drifts. And I think that's when it was where I was like, something clicked, because before that, I never really held a continuous drift before. So it's kind of like you're trying to achieve something that you don't know how it's supposed to feel. So once I actually held a continuous drift, then everything sort of started falling into place, because I actually had like an end goal, like I want to try and get into that feeling, I guess. So that was, I guess, the aha moment. How do your parents feel about your projects? Well, my dad's dream car has always been a Porsche, right? Or a Porsche. You guys can have an argument on how you pronounce it in the comments below. So my dad's dream car has always been a Porsche, right? So he bought a 996 Carrera when I was in middle school, so like years ago. And that car was always garage kept, and he pulled that out of the garage and has let it sit outside right now with a cover on it for 2 years, so that way I could have all the garage space. So parents are very supportive on what I do. Are you going to engine swap the drift car? 1JZ VVTi, that's the plan. And that's because it doesn't cost that much money. It's good for the horsepower I want, which is around 300 horsepower. It takes a beating, and you can smash on rev limiter. How many hours a week do you put into working on your car and content for YouTube? That literally all depends on the week or what I'm doing, or if I have to make it to an event. So it could be 0. It could be every single day getting 4 hours of sleep for a week, you know, so like a ton of hours. Top tips for starting out on a build project. What do you wish you'd known when you began? Okay, so I thought I did pretty good when I was doing my builds. I don't really regret anything that I did. And basically I see this all the time, is when people start modifying their cars without actually having their cars reliable or even like up to par first. So it's like if you have sloppy bushings, you have all worn out bushings, all destroyed ball joints, all destroyed tie rod ends, but yet you want to look into buying coilovers, like that makes no sense to me. First get your car, you know, all like energy suspension bushings, whatever bushings you want to go with, you know, redo all that, you know, get rid of all the oil leaks on the car, fix all the seals, do all that sort of stuff. So that way it's a nice solid platform to actually start modifying, and then modify that. So that's what I would say if you're going to start a build, is to actually get it to the point where it's running reliably and it feels good and actually receive mods better. If you didn't buy a 240SX, what car would you have bought instead? BMW E30. I was actually looking at buying one before I bought my first S13. Any plans to visit other countries in the future in a similar style to how you did in Japan? So yes, I would love to go to other countries and check out how it is. I still want to go back to Japan. Will I ever make a video like I did in Japan? Absolutely not, because that was 3.5 months of work in order to make that video, and that's not even a video, that's like a straight up movie. And yeah, I'm definitely not doing that video portion again, but I am willing to go to other countries and do stuff. I like watching you build stuff, any future new builds, different projects and whatnot. So yeah, I think there's like going to be a whole bunch of little different side projects that I have in my head that I want to do. But besides that, my girlfriend's Z32, she does have some plans for that car. And I do plan on featuring that, so hopefully you guys get to see some Z32 stuff as well coming up. What non-conventional car would you like to turn into a drift car? I.e. 989 Corolla, 02 Accord, 84 Jaguar, something that people wouldn't think could drift. Definitely Fintail Mercedes. I've always wanted to drift a Fintail Mercedes, or at least build like a Fintail Mercedes and bag it and do cool stuff with it. Future plans for the channel. The ideal, how I want it to be, is like I do my own business stuff, and then I would just hire a videographer to essentially just follow around the shop if we do anything fun, and then they get to edit it and they get to post it and they have to record it. So all the dirty work that I don't like doing, someone else can do, and I have no problem giving them all the profits from the YouTube channel, and they can do that. Q&A, why don't you take YouTube seriously? You have the following. I know that's not your main job, but it's also a good source of side income. Thanks for making videos and can't wait to see more driving happening. For my videos, it's not really a good source of side income because, again, I spend $150 on door panels. I make $50 back on the video. Literally makes no sense, and I get, you know, paid nothing for my labor. And again, I don't like editing, and I don't like recording video, so I wouldn't want to continuously do something that I don't like. Where did you learn to weld/fab? I just taught myself how to weld and fab. Pretty much like everything, you just look it up on YouTube and Google and figure it out, I guess. And how would you recommend others practice and get better? Just buy scrap metal and just make random stuff. That's the best thing you could do, is be like, alright, I want to try and make like a cup holder or something, I don't know, out of metal, whatever you want to do, and then just try fabbing it. When did you know you wanted to build a drift car, and why a 240? So I always saw 240s, and I didn't realize that I could actually buy one. Like, for me, in high school, I just thought, like, oh, those are, like, cool kids' cars, and, like, you know, drifting. I can't do drifting. Then I was like, oh, wait, like, I totally get into drifting. And I was like, no, dude, I could totally buy a 240 too. They're only, like, a few $1,000s. Like, that's, yeah. And then I was like, dude, I could totally do this. And, yeah, so I was, like, definitely going to get a 240. Always wanted a 240. I'm going to buy a 240. Okay, would you ever consider putting an LS into your drift car? Well, as you guys could tell by one of the previous videos I made, teaching my girlfriend how to do a burnout, I do have a girlfriend and I'm not into guys, so unfortunately I will not be swapping an LS into my car. But seriously though, the reason I won't swap an LS into a drift car is because drifting is a half style based sport, and when you take an LS engine, which that has that like iconic V8 sound, right? V8's like, I can go to a lake right now, I can find motorboats that have that same exact V8 sound. The trucks that are towing those motorboats have that same V8 sound. I go to a car show and I got 50s hot rods, 60s hot rods, 70s hot rods, 80s hot rods. Okay, 80s hot rods, lol. They all have that same V8 sound. You got Camaros, Mustangs, Corvettes, right? All have that same V8 sound. Then you show up to a drift event and then you have LS swapped RX-7s, that same LS sound. You have, you know, like LS swapped Supras, same sound. Then you have LS swap 240s, same sound. And the list goes on and on and on and on, and they all just sound so generic, it's ridiculous. So not a fan of LS swapping. And on top of that, I can go to a ProAm event and listen to V8s, and I get sick of that sound in probably about 15 minutes. I was in Japan for 2 weeks with all JZs, and I never once got sick of that sound over there. Anyways, that's that. Hey, what is your video schedule and how far in advance have you filmed everything? I just kind of film it and release it whenever I feel like it, honestly. Are you still pursuing engineering, and when/will did you graduate? I went and did 3 years of mechanical engineering, so I have 82 units completed, and then I took a gap year, which I'm pretty much just finishing up right now. And I'm probably going to be going back right now, either for mechanical engineering, or I might switch my major to business, like systems and operations management. So because I'm finding more of a need now to learn more about business, because the engineering aspect of things I find pretty easy and just kind of common sense. List of all cars ever owned: 1998 Ford Mustang V6 stick shift, 1998 Mercedes E320, 2004 Toyota Sienna, the 91 240SX, which is the first one, 91 240SX, which is this one, 2013 Toyota Tundra. What is your future as far as drifting goes? Japan, Pro-Am, hobby? Pretty much just hobby. I did Top Drift Limited, which is like a competition. Wasn't really a fan of it. You pay a lot to compete, and on the second day or competition day, you don't really get to drive. And it gets even worse when you're on like a Formula Drift level, that type of level. You know, a lot of times you only get maybe, let's say, 30 runs in a weekend, which I think is absurd. I'd rather just go do cool events and drive all day long with a whole bunch of cool people and have a barbecue and chill out. What are you doing for 100K on YouTube? No idea. Guys can comment ideas. Be honest, how did you get all the money to put into your build? So I had this thing called a job. It's pretty mind-blowing. And I basically worked at Target for I think 2.5 months or whatever, and I got just over like $2,000. Plus I already had money saved up as a kid, which was I think $4,500. So I had in total about like $7,000 just saved up. And of course I can build this car and do whatever. And on top of that, then I still had the YouTube money. Plus I was selling merchandise. And then on top of that, I was partying out like the other 240 when I was building this 240. So I was making money from that as well. So that's how I got the money. And on top of all that, obviously all the stickers are on here from sponsors, right? So it's like the wheels, the body kit, the ISR arms, my bracket in there for my seat, lug nuts, brake pads, like a lot of stuff like that. Those are sponsored parts. So just because you see it on here doesn't mean that I was the one paying for it. And I'm not going to tell you how much I paid for it, how much I didn't pay for it. And realize this car has been built from the last car, which had a lot of parts on there. And all of this has been done over a 4-year period of time. So if you work at a minimum wage job making, let's say, 600 bucks. So let's say if you're making minimum wage, you're making $600 a month, right? You do that for 12 months a year, so you're making $7,200 a year. You times that by about 4, you're making $28,800 in 4 years' time. So I don't understand why I got asked that question so much. It's like anyone can build a car like this. Like if you have trouble building an NAKA powered car where you did basically all the fabrication on and all that sort of stuff on, for $30,000, like I don't think it's that hard. And anyone who has a normal part-time job will probably be making close to what I make every single month anyways. That is, of course, not really having any bills. I do realize some people actually have like full-on adult lives. I understand that. Would you ever start vlogging? No, I would never start vlogging. Don't like editing. Don't like recording video. Would not want to do that every single day. I also don't find a lot of vlogs contributing to YouTube, and they kind of just clutter up YouTube with unnecessary garbage. So I wouldn't want to contribute to that as well. If I have a video that I think is cool, I really want to make, then I'll make it, but I wouldn't vlog. What's your favorite color? Purple. What would be your dream build of a drift car? Pretty much S13 hatch with a JZ in it. That's kind of what I've always wanted to build. Would you ever think about owning a Foxbody drift car? I don't think I'd ever own one. Maybe I would have a friend that would have one, and I would help build, but I don't think I'd personally buy one. Are there any concrete plans for a trailer to transport LDC2 to events? So I would have already bought a trailer, but the thing is storing it. I don't have the space for that. So until I have space to store it, I won't be buying a trailer. I'll just be either borrowing friends or renting it from U-Haul. And yeah, I'll just be sleeping in my truck. I really don't have problems sleeping in my truck. I sleep on the couch all the time. I sleep on the floor all the time. Just because I do so much stuff. Like, I'm not really picky about where I sleep, so I have no issue sleeping in a truck. If you redid the cage or tube front, what would you change about the design? The cage, I would change absolutely nothing because that cage is meticulously thought out, and it's exactly how I want it to be, which is why I took my time thinking it out. For the tube front, I would just change everything to aluminum, so that way I shave a ton of weight off the car. What's your origin? What are you planning to do to your current drift car? Half Persian, half American, and I believe I already went over the rest of that question. I like drifting a lot, but I'm more into time attack. Have you thought of trying out time attack / grip driving? Yes, I have, and I find it like mind-numbingly boring. Drifting, you can go out there, you can do laps, and like every single lap, you could run a different line. You could do just something different about it, and you like so many style options with it, so many different entries you could do. Whereas time attack, all you're trying to do is just trying to get that fastest time. You just go around doing it over and over and over again. So I once did that, and like, dude, I didn't even finish half the track day. I was like, this is ridiculous. I was like, I'm gonna stop doing the grip driving section of it because it was that boring. What cameras and editing do you use to compose your videos? So that is a Nikon D7200 with a Rode VideoMic Pro on it. I use Adobe Premiere Pro CC for editing. I have another GoPro Hero 3 Plus Silver Edition, which I use for all my GoPro shots, and that's pretty much what I use. Alright, that wraps up the Q&A video. I hope that answered you guys' questions. Yeah, I guess I'll see you guys in the next one.